Hey, Shalom, Makiam, Shalom. First off, I want to say, Call Halal, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Send double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to y'all, Akim out there pushing the word of sincerity and truth. It's the Brother Ariala. And this is just a quick World War III algorithm update, breaking news. There's reports coming out that Iran has seized two British vessels, one being a direct British vessel, I believe, and the other one was British affiliated out there in the Strait of Hormuz. And anytime you got stuff happening in these trade routes and zones, man, it's always are key points of possible serious conflict. So, earlier this month, you had an Iranian vessel be seized by the UK off the Strait of Gibraltar, believed to be on its way to Syria to drop off large amounts of oil, and now there's reports that Iran is seizing British vessels. Now, whether this is true or not, we don't know. Just because of the amount of propaganda being pushed out right now, we don't really know what's going on. They said that Iranian drone was shot down by one of the United States vessels, and then Iran comes out and says, no, the U.S. shot down one of their own drones. So, and basically the U.S. shooting down one of their own drones and calling it Iranian drone. So I don't know. It's yet to be seen. But the point is, we're having these wars and rumors of wars escalate. Just like it says here in the book of Revelation, the 11th chapter and the 14th verse, it says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And we see these nations getting ready to come together to fight, to go to war. And it's coming quickly. In a very short span of time, we're seeing all these nations round about, the Valley of Jehoshaphat getting ready to battle, man. So I want to give the brothers a quick update on everything that's going down. So let's check this out.
And there's more breaking news. We have just confirmed that in the past 3 hours, Iran has now seized 2 oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. The second oil tanker is a Liberian flag tanker, but it is British operated, meaning that both of the oil tankers that have been seized by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard are British operated oil tankers. Let's get back to Trey Yingst. He's live in our Mideast newsroom with the breaking update. Trey.
Trace, we were able to just confirm this development right now. A Liberian-flagged British-operated tanker also seized today, just about 40 minutes after that first tanker was seized by the Revolutionary Guard. This is a major escalation by the Iranians, and I just got a statement here regarding the first tanker. This company releasing a statement about the Stena Impero, saying that they were concerned about the safety of the crew on board that vessel. There are 23 sailors aboard the first vessel that was taken in by the Iranians. With this second vessel, we don't know much about how many people were on board, but we do know that about 40 minutes after, this is around 4 to 4:40 local time, this vessel taking a sharp right turn after the Strait of Hormuz towards the Iranian coast. The big question, though, here, Trace, why are the Iranians doing this? Just last week, they attempted also to intercept a British-flagged vessel near the Strait of Hormuz that was actually pushed off by a small British warship that was traveling with...
Now, this is happening in the midst of the Iranians trying to broker a new nuclear deal with the West, allowing the United States and its allies to basically go even harder with coming in and making sure that they don't have nuclear weapons so they could get back to basically doing business within the markets. So this is another move that it just doesn't make sense geopolitically for Iran to do all these things. Okay? But whenever you're trying to push propaganda on a particular nation, hey, you can do these things when you can control the media. This is also another opportunity for the Amalekites over there in the state of Israel to do preemptive strikes. Whether they're going to do that or not, I don't know. The United States definitely could come in and have a meeting with NATO and say, oh, okay, this regime, we need regime change. We need to come in and have a regime change because this rogue nation of Iran is a threat to world sovereignty and safety. We don't know. We got to see how things are going to play out,
with that tanker. And then remember, there's also an Iranian tanker currently being held by British forces near the Strait of Gibraltar. So multiple potential storylines here for the Iranians. They could be looking to get to the negotiating table to get their tanker released by the British near the Strait of Gibraltar, or the overarching concern for the Iranians is they want to put pressure on the West when it comes to the Iran nuclear deal. Amid all of this news about tankers being seized in the Gulf, you have to remember the Iranians this month have broken two key commitments in the nuclear deal by surpassing the uranium enrichment and stockpile limits laid out in the nuclear agreement. Each one of these provocative actions certainly putting another bargaining chip on the table for the Iranians in potential talks coming up. Trace?
Indeed. Trey Ying's live for us in the Middle East. Back to you with breaking news. Again, he makes a good point, saying there is concern about the 23 crew members on board the Stena Imperial. That's the first British ship that was taken by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard today, because the British government says they have not had any contact with those crew members at all since this ship was seized. I want to bring in our chief White House correspondent, John Roberts, because the president has just commented on this. We don't have the tape, but John's going to kind of give us the paraphrasing of what the president said. John.
Yeah, Trace, the president is still talking.
And don't all these people just look like absolute demons? Look at them. Look at all of them. Look at Esau. The devil, man.
On the South Lawn, the helicopter has not taken off yet, so we're still probably 5-10 minutes away from actually hearing from the president, but he took some questions and is continuing to take questions, and he did talk about this. He said they heard it was one tanker, then they heard that it might be two tankers, and now you've said that Liberian flag vessel operating for a UK company appears to be the second tanker that Iran has seized. The president reminding that the United States has got a lot of warships, a lot of firepower out there, which clearly is a signal to Iran not to escalate this too far. I think the White House is trying to make power out there, which clearly is a signal to Iran not to escalate this too far. I think the White House is trying to make head and tails of what's going on here. A statement from Garrett Marquis, the spokesman for John Bolton at the NSC, said, "We are aware of reports that Iranian forces seized a British oil tanker. This is the second time in just over a week that the UK has been the target of escalatory violence by the Iranian regime. The United States will continue to work with our allies and partners to defend our security and interests against Iran's malign behavior." Of course, this follows yesterday, as Jennifer Griffin mentioned at the top of the show, the takedown of that Iranian drone that the U.S. said was working in too close proximity to an American warship, which is why it was taken down. And I think Iran kind of surprised as well that it was taken down not by a missile but by electronic countermeasures, that new system that the United States has just deployed there in the Persian Gulf. So
showing you they just letting they're showing you their technology, man. Showing you their technology, able to take down a drone with electronic power, man.
I think what we're going to hear from the president when we get the tape back, and again, the helicopter's still on the ground. The tape won't get back until the helicopter has taken off, so we're probably still 5-10 minutes away from that, depending on how long the president talks. I think you're probably going to hear from the president a very strong warning to Iran not to take this any further. If Iran were to decide to seize an American oil tanker, that would be a dramatic escalation of this little cat and mouse game that Iran has been playing. And I think that you would probably see a very sharp response from the United States in regard to that. Now, again, a lot of this depends on whether or not lives are at risk. Remember what the president said after the Global Hawk was brought down about the 20th of June there in the Straits of Hormuz. The president saying that he was not going to launch a retaliatory strike that would result in the loss of life, which is why the takedown of the drone yesterday was seen as sort of a proportional response in terms of this cat and mouse game. So if Iran were to seize a U.S. oil tanker, that would be a dramatic escalation. Now then we're talking about whether or not the crew would be in physical danger from Iran. If they were, that could prompt a very sharp escalation in the U.S. response. But I think the Iran...
Yeah, man, and when we look at these, man, we're seeing all this cat and mouse stuff because Iran has a serious military. And they got people on their side. China is fed up with the United States. We know that Russia has got stuff in the back burner. They're supplying weapons to all these enemies of the United States, so to speak. So, you know, everybody's walking on eggshells as World War III escalates. Now, when we read here, I want to go to Isaiah 13 and skip down to 17. It says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare the children. In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah." Now, when you see this statement here, this is a repeated statement throughout the scriptures. We can go here and grab cross references. You look up the part where it says, "When God shall overthrow Sodom and Gomorrah," and you can just read the different, you know, scriptures that talk about this. In Jeremiah 49, as an overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord, no man shall abide there. Talking about Edom. And then Babylon again in Jeremiah 50, as the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Now you can skip ahead to that, and then then you can skip ahead to that and read that even kind of a similitude in the book of Revelation. You know, so something's being prepared for these end times that's likened unto Sodom and Gomorrah burning. And that's basically going to be this next world war. It's going to be fueled by thermonuclear fire. And we're seeing the type of chess pieces, so to speak, finally come together. When we had these skirmishes in Afghanistan and in Iraq and even in Syria, you know, these were small skirmishes, but now we're seeing militaries that have significant firepower go head up with the UK and then Iran. And, you know, we're seeing more and more reports of China being brought up in the news. And so, hey, man, things are getting juicy. That's why the scripture says here in the 2nd Ezra 15:14, it says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draw nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. And they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their own power." Alright, and you skip down to 2nd Ezra, we get to start talking about these Arabs and these Persians and how they're going to be prepared to fight against, you know, Syria and Babylon, who now, you know, that's America, the daughter of Babylon. Okay? 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 28 says, "Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and a multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, and all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also, the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them." Brothers talked about how 500 U.S. troops have been sent over to Saudi Arabia, which that's not many troops. But still, when we're seeing troop movements, we're seeing large aircraft carrier movements, we're seeing of them moving jets in and around, you know, Europe and the Middle East. Something is going down. Okay, and it says, and join with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, aspiring together with great power to persecute them, and then and these shall be trouble bled, and keep silence of their power, and shall flee. Now, I wanna go back to this. This whole region, up and in and around here, man. Pretty much this whole region is gonna be on fire, bro. This whole region is gonna be on fire, bro. They're gonna be doing strikes on Tehran. They're gonna be striking over here in Damascus. The state of Israel is gonna be getting hit. Egypt is gonna be getting attacked. All of these lands in Saudi Arabia, this is all a hotbed. Right here in the Strait of Hormuz, you have all these nations moving weight, moving traffic, moving all types of goods, specifically petroleum and natural gas. So when things are getting strained politically and geoeconomically, anything that happens in this area is a hotbed. You see how the Strait of Hormuz is right here on the border of Iran. So Iran is protecting these borders to the best of their ability. Well, they're constantly getting poked and prodded, and it's leading into war. Now, I was reading this article here. I don't know how much I want to read on this, even if I want to read anything on this thing. It says, this is the AP Associated Press. The latest Central Command says U.S. intensifying air patrols. That's that eagle. The latest on developments related to tensions between the U.S. and Iran. And they stand on this thing, man. The U.S. Central Command says the U.S. has intensified air patrol over the Strait of Hormuz in response to Iranian seizure of a British tanker. A Central Command spokesman, Lieutenant Colonel Earl Brown, says a small number of additional patrol aircraft are flying in international airspace to monitor the situation. He also says the Central Command's naval arm has been in contact with U.S. ships operating in the area to ensure their safety. The semi-official Fars news agency is reporting that a second oil tanker detained by Iranian forces has been released and has left Iranian waters. Fars reported Friday that the Liberian flag Mesdar tanker was briefly detained in the Strait of Hormuz and given a notice to comply with environmental regulations before being allowed to continue on its way. British Foreign Secretary said the Iranian authorities seized 2 vessels Friday in the strategic waterway. See, and this happens literally all the time. And this is how you know that this can just be some type of media provocation, because as these vessels are passing through Iranian waters, Iran has the right to check these vessels, at their will. And sometimes routine checks happens if they feel like something nefarious is going on, like maybe somebody's smuggling something that shouldn't be passing through the waters. They can stop these ships and seize them and check them and then let them go. So it could have been just that routine type of checkup, but they're just trying to say that, they seizing, they holding these vessels. Who knows? Who knows? It could be all types of stuff. President Donald Trump says Iran is nothing but trouble. But the president also says he thinks that the standoff with Iran will eventually work out very nicely. See? Trump don't want that smoke, man. Trump don't want that smoke, bro. He's going to have to be pushed by these elites. He's going to have to be pushed by these elites. That's how we know that when the scripture says the least shall draw them out, that's how that's going to go down. Trump don't want no smoke, man. They playing games. They playing games. Let's see if there's some more on this right here.
Nuclear agreement, so you would think they would handle the UK with kid gloves. You talk about that, really the UK is one of the economic life rafts for Iran because they haven't implemented those snapback sanctions that could go in effect if they violated this nuclear agreement. So you would think they would handle the UK with kid gloves. You talk about escalation, John, about if this was a US tanker, that it would be a dramatic escalation. What's the gap? Is there a vast gap between the fact this is not a US tanker and it's a British tanker and another British operated tanker? How far is the gap between these two allies as far as is this being a big concern for escalation for the United States?
Well, it's clearly a big concern for the United States, but I don't think it could be considered to be a trigger point. The seizure of a U.S. flagged or U.S. operated vessel could be seen as some sort of a trigger point. Don't forget, too, when you talk about signatories to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the UK is one, France is one as well, and recently Emmanuel Macron had conversations with Rouhani, the president of Iran, and he was warning Iran that France may have to take action if Iran passes that nuclear threshold and continues to go down the road, everybody believes, of developing a nuclear weapon. So even though those countries remain signatories to the Iran nuclear plan, they have made it clear to Iran that they are only going to tolerate so much before taking action. And I thought I heard the helicopter spooling up, but it appears it's still on the ground. So the president is still talking. So clearly, Trace, we're going to
Good afternoon, Trace. And a senior U.S. official is telling us that the seizure of these tankers amounts to piracy in international waters, and it's a significant escalation, certainly against the United Kingdom. The senior U.S. official says this shows that Iran seems to not be able to get along with many people, certainly in that region. This also comes today, Trace, as the United States was organizing an effort here today on preventing just this very issue. It was a summit here with a senior U.S. official telling us at least 100 different diplomats from 60 different nations about maritime security in the Strait of Hormuz. And what the United States is stressing and trying to organize all of this is that not only the U.S. can be the one defending and protecting ships in the Strait of Hormuz, this has to be an international effort. As the administration has pointed out, that most of the goods, certainly the oil that traverse the Strait of Hormuz, really go to Asia and Europe. So the United States is looking for countries around the world to step up and work on that type of security. In fact, U.S. officials have been saying that they're hoping that they can get this together, that there will be follow-on meetings after this. Today was more of the diplomatic setting, but there's going to be a military strategy component to all of this. And this is all as the United States has been expanding its military footprint in that region because of what the U.S. has said has been Iran's increasing destabilizing activity. So all of this just within the hour.
See, they say that they've been having increasing destabilizing activity, but the whole time they've been straining Iran out, man. Cutting off their trade, cutting off their ability to make money in the market. You know, got their people starving. You know, they're trying to force Iran's hand to justify war with them. That's what these guys do. You know, they're constantly together. They constantly seek out war, man. Like it says in Psalms. What is it? I believe it's Psalms 140 and 2. It says, let's start at 1. It says, "Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischief in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war." You know? And that's the nature of the United States and the West and Esau in general. Okay? So, but we're going to see, man. We're going to see if the West really want that smoke, man. They pushing all this stuff in the media. This was a little bit more juicy, so I decided to do a video on it. A lot of the stuff that you'll see that come out is just fake news. Really don't have nothing to do with anything. It's just wars and rumors of wars in the sense of just pushing stuff out, you know. It's going to be constant until you start to see, you know, major things happen. Now, when they start to affect United States vessels and maybe potentially do an attack on some people, then, you know, we're having some serious things go down. But we're going to see what escalates out of this. This year has been definitely a hot year, and we're still in the middle of the summer, so things are still heating up spiritually and literally. So Most High's got a lot of things happening, signs in the skies, earthquakes, you know, strange weather. People are just being absolutely destroyed and killed. Pestilences all across the planet Earth, man. Crops are being destroyed. So, you know, we're in a very beautiful time as concerning prophecy. So we're going to see, you know, I'm not going to continue to play this. You brothers can easily go to Mox News and check this video out for yourself. And you know, read the related articles. I just wanted to kind of put something up. But call halal Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shar Ba'Hashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to you. I came out there pushing the word sincerity and truth. Shalom.